Alright, let's stop the music. Hi, greetings to all of you. Hassan al-Badri is with you. An atheist, anti-theist, non-theist, etc., etc. There is a video by a channel on YouTube. It's called Love Allah 328. Love Allah 328. And the beautiful thing, the channel, they have a video titled Questions that no atheist can answer. No atheist can answer. Questions that no atheist can answer. So let's see those questions. If I'm an atheist, I'm an atheist, anti-theist, so let's see if I cannot answer those questions.
What are the questions that no atheist will be able to answer? A. How did existence emerge out of no space and no time? How can an atheist assume that his atheism is valid when the moment of the start of existence is a stark proof on the creativity of the Creator and his ability to originate existence? B.
Well, the first question is it's invalid, actually, because atheism got nothing to do with the beginning of the universe. Atheism is just the lack of belief or disbelief. Sorry, I got a call on Messenger. So sorry for the breakup. Atheism got nothing to do with the beginning of the universe. Got nothing to do with it. So by asking how does atheism explains the beginning of the universe from no time and no space, that's bullshit, with all due respect. It got nothing to do with it. Atheism is just the lack of belief or disbelief in God or gods. So what do you find in this definition? Where do you find universe? Where do you find beginning of the universe? Nowhere. But to answer your question is actually scientifically, here I'm going to the science to answer your question, not to atheism. Atheism got nothing to do with that. So basically your whole question is a straw man. It's a loaded question. But I'm going to go to physics, astrophysics and cosmology. I'm going to answer your question. Before the Big Bang, the universe was in a state and size of quantum level. And when we reach the quantum level, when we reach especially the Planck scales of the universe, space and time, those definitions, those terms cease to be valid. Okay? They are invalid terms. We cannot use them. We cannot measure them. There is no meaning for it. It's meaningless to say space and time on Planck scales. So you cannot ask, that's why Stephen Hawking said, you cannot ask what is the north of North Pole. You're already in North Pole. So you cannot ask what is the north of North Pole. There is no north. Alright? The same thing applies there, or the beginning of the universe. There is no time, there is no space, because it's Planck scale. So when you ask what is the time, where is the place, it's meaningless. And also we can explain actually how the universe came to be from no space and no time, because when we go to quantum level states, there is an eternal inflationary theory, which explains to you how the vacuum, the false vacuum, made a jump state to the true vacuum, and then gained potential while changing states, and that potential resulted into the Big Bang. So, and by the way, this explanation doesn't contain not even a faint hint of your God, Allah. So, where is your Allah here? I don't know. And since that you claiming that the universe came from nothing, you are the one, the burden is on you to provide us a scientific evidence, a physics scientific evidence that your God creates something out of nothing, that he broke the first law of thermodynamics, the law of the conservation of energy. Energy is conserved. It cannot be created nor destroyed. So obviously your God created energy from out of nothing. Please provide us with this evidence. This scientific evidence. We are speaking here about physics. We are speaking here about scientific stuff. We're not speaking here about theology and faith stuff. So please provide us with the evidence for that bullshit claim that you're having. Let's hear claim B.
How did no life transform into life? How did matter mutate from lifelessness into living cell? With all our techniques and advancements, we cannot, till this very moment, originate the simplest form of life. So how can we explain the origination of life in the dead matter? Wouldn't we have been at least able to originate a form of life that supersedes the one that originated in the dead matter by at least 1,000,000 times? C.
No, actually. And here your question, because you're asking about the origin of life. So you're asking about abiogenesis theory. You're asking how the non-living matter became a living matter. It's about biochemistry, okay? It's about biochemistry. Here you're talking about. And here you're claiming, I smell it already. I smell the God of gaps in your question. The argument out of ignorance. Just because science cannot answer this question, does it mean your Allah is the answer? That's the pure, beautiful example of God of gaps. Argument out of ignorance. You don't know? Then my God did it. You see, that's the pure example of your question. Because you say, like, yeah, non-living matter became a living matter. You don't know how? That's an evidence for my God, the Creator. No, it's not an evidence. It could be anything. It could be anything. But just to debunk your question, to refute your question, scientists actually now succeeded into making a living RNA out of non-living material. Okay, so literally chemical stuff, non-living chemical stuff, non-living matter. Scientists, they mix it up to create a real living RNA. All right? So there, debunked your question. Let's hear question C.
How can the atheist argue against the annihilation of all mankind? What is the rational, substantial, and scientific evidence an atheist can present to prove that annihilation of all mankind is a mistake? The material world knows no right and wrong, so annihilation of mankind must be equal to keeping them alive from their perspective. D.
Here, I smell it's like the questions of Haytham Talat, but translated to English. What stops the atheist from annihilating the whole world's population? All right? Well, a very simple, pure example, a very simple answer to that stupid question is actually morals. Morals what stop us, and also our collective dependence on each other. We live in groups. We are not a single living organisms. We don't need others. So when an atheist annihilates the whole world, he actually fuck himself up pretty big time. When you are living on your own, when you annihilate everybody in the world, and you're living on your own, who is going to cook for you? Just a simple example. If you want to sleep with somebody, and you already annihilated everybody, who are you going to sleep with? Sex, in other words. Who are you going to talk with? Who are you going to depend on to help you? Nobody. So actually we are simply a group life. We are a living organisms that we are depending on groups. We are depending on each other. We are depending on society. We are depending on countries. We cannot live alone. All right? We are not a lone wolf. Okay? We are not lone ranger animals. We are simply a group animals. It comes down to it. So what stops an atheist from annihilating the whole world? You should ask an atheist about that. And asking me, I'm an atheist. You ask me what stops you? I would say my morals. My morals doesn't allow me. I'm a good person. I don't want to annihilate anybody. I love all humanity. Okay? And when you say, so the material point of view doesn't stop you, what do you mean by material point of view? I mean, what do you mean? You mean that atoms don't care about good and evil? You see, here you go to the fallacies from the small to big, actually. We are living entities. We have consciousness, okay? We know, we have cognitive systems, so we understand the views of each other. We understand our dependence on each other, okay? So even from material point of view, we understand each other and we love each other. We have to cooperate, we have to help each other. We cannot live on our own, simply. What kind of question is that? And you call this a question the atheist cannot answer?
Theism assumes that human beings are just animals who came into existence after a long and slow sequence of evolution from meaner beings. So what if a higher being...
So, atheism assumes that we are living animals. It's not atheism, it's actually science assumes. Here you are mixing, you see, in the first question you're mixing atheism with science, with physics. And here in this question you're mixing atheism with biology. I mean, what's wrong with you? Have you been smoking? Have you been drinking? Seriously. Atheism is just the lack of belief and disbelief in God or gods. It got nothing to do with biology, man. It got nothing to do with physics and the Big Bang Theory.
Came into existence. Will it have the right to put us all in cages and use us as lab rats? The Darwinist answer that we derive from matter is yes. So, what's the purpose from protecting mankind or providing them with meaning or purpose when it comes to atheism? Atheism here is unable to explain the reality of man.
When the question is wrong, you shouldn't answer it, okay? You say, what if a higher society or higher living organisms come to Earth and they take us as slaves? If they are advanced, we cannot do anything about it. Whether we are believers or atheists, they're gonna take us slaves. So if you are a believer, you're gonna think you have a different fate. If you are a believer than the atheist, if a higher civilization, really much more advanced than us, okay, comes to Earth and they look at humans and say, yeah, let's take them slaves. Do you think this civilization is gonna treat the believer differently than treating the atheist? They're going to treat us both with the same. We are both slaves to them. We cannot do anything about it. They are simply advanced civilization. And here you're mixing atheism with morals, all right? Atheism is a standpoint against the belief in God or gods. It got nothing to do with morals. Why are you mixing things up?
What if, according to evolution, we proved that one race is higher than the other? Will the higher race be entitled to transform the lesser race into used matter, as we do with the lesser insects or animals? Again, the Darwinist answer is yes. This very argument is enough to obliterate atheism from any mind that utilizes common sense, since the only criteria to judge who is better than who is the criterion of God-fearingness, not by color or strength.
When you start your question, what if, then you're going into fantasy. You're fantasizing about stuff, okay? You're hypothesizing about something, okay? What if we prove that some race is under the other race? Here, actually, you go into social Darwinism, which has been debunked and it's been refused a century ago. So I don't know why you go into this. It's really funny coming from a Muslim talking about non-division, while you Muslims, actually, you have a division. You call the Jews in the Quran, they are the sons of monkeys and pigs, alright? You call the Christians are mushrikeen and najis, dirty, alright? So if we talk about racism when it comes to religious way, you Muslims depict it in the most perfect way. Unlike the atheists. The atheists, they treat all humanity as equal. It doesn't matter the race, creed, ethnicity, the geographical spot. It doesn't matter. We are all humans. Whether you're African, European, Asian, American, North American, South American, Australian, etc., etc. We are all humans.
F. Atheists argue that morals are relative, meaning can be seen from more than one perspective. So, honesty can be better than betrayal, or betrayal can be better in some cases. Yet, when confronted with their own trials, they claim outright that morality is objective, and that things like honesty or betrayal are absolute. Because, if morals are relative, then immorality makes no sense, since we will never be able to set a line between morality and immorality. This definitely a clear contradiction.
No, it's not a contradiction. When some atheists look, morals are they are in 2 degrees. Some of them are relative, and some of them is a must do. Okay, but even those are must do is also relative in some other in extreme cases. So here you gave an example of betrayal. You say if betrayal is relative, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, then there is no moral compass. Well, actually, no. Imagine you are captured by the enemy. Okay? You are captured by the enemy. And if your enemy will gain information from you, they will wipe out your whole nation. So here, betraying the enemy is actually a good deed. It's a good act. It's actually a moral act to betray the enemy and give them false information. Telling the truth here is actually a bad, immoral act because it's going to result into wiping out your nation. So you get it? You get the relativity here? That's why they say some things are relative. But some morals are relative. It depends on geographical spot. It depends on the norms of the country or the area. Okay? For example, I said it many times. Like for example, maybe in some tribes in Africa, spitting on your face is considered a greeting and an utter high respect. While in other countries, spitting on your face is considered an insult. You see, that here comes the relativity of norms with the morals. But then again, there are some morals which is a must. We have to do it. Otherwise, will result wiping out ourselves. For example, killing. Killing is immoral. It doesn't matter if you are an atheist or not. Killing an innocent being, let's concentrate on the terms, please, because I know you pick terms and you go right away. Anyway, if you kill an innocent being, that is wrong. That's an ultimate no-no. No matter when, no matter how, no matter where, okay? It's a no-no. While if you get attacked by somebody, by a murderer, a maniac murderer who's trying to kill you, then killing that murderer is actually a moral act. You're defending yourself. You see the relativity here? Okay? And the same thing, raping children, which you Muslims actually do, unfortunately. Raping children or having sex with kids, with children, is immoral. But unfortunately, in your religion, it's allowed to marry a kid who's 12 years old, a lady, a girl who's 12 years old, and to marry her, to have sex with her. It doesn't matter if you're 40 or 50. That's actually an immoral act.
Because if morality was objective and absolute, then this law of morality must have had a lawgiver, the will of Allah, and divine accountability. If morality was relative, then no atheist must complain from immorality or even comprehend its concept. G. How did the amazing constants of physics emerge? All of these constants entail very intricate differences that must never vary, even by the slightest or minutest fraction, or the whole universe would collapse. For instance, the cosmological constant is fine-tuned to 120 decibel places, and if it was 1 decibel more or less, the whole universe would collapse. This precision proves...
Actually, no. If it was less, the universe wouldn't collapse. And if it was more, the universe again wouldn't collapse. So why are you lying here? Why are you lying? Why you show your ignorance with physics? Why are you lying here? Why the fuck you're lying? Why you always lying? Okay, why are you lying here? Seriously. Actually, that cosmological constant, if you go lower, the chances of life in the universe would be higher. Okay? And by the way, that cosmological constant, if it reaches 0, okay, it's 10 to the power minus 122, 123. If it reaches 0, the chance of life will be higher. Now the chance of life is lower because it's that cosmological constant. So if your God really wanted life in the universe, he would make it lower. So the chance of life would be higher. So what kind of a fine tuner is that? Who tunes the universe not suitable for life? You call that a wise, an absolute wise God? Obviously not. Obviously he's not wise. Seriously. Or obviously he wants our annihilation. Seriously.
Accuracy of a great maker, noting that the constants are numerous in physics and all of them are intricately precise. H. How did the genome emerge within the living cells? A code must require a coder, and this genome designates what each cell will be used for. Doesn't this prove that there is a unique maker dictating very specific codes? I.
No, actually here again you're using the God of gaps, the argument out of ignorance. By the way, the codes of genes are actually explained. There are some scientific papers explaining the coding of the genes. It's not something we are totally ignorant about it. We don't know. And even if we don't know, actually, here you cannot jump to the creator, to the coder of your God. That's argument out of ignorance, you stupid fool. Okay? You cannot say, yeah, let's see, what the science doesn't have an answer. Oh yeah, they don't have an answer for the beginning of the Big Bang. So, dear atheist, do you know the beginning of the Big Bang? You don't know? My God did it. So let's see what other answers. The science doesn't have any answers. The beginning of life. So, dear atheist, do you know the beginning of life? You don't know? My God did it. That's really the pure example of God of gaps. That's pure example of argument out of ignorance. Seriously. Don't use it. It actually exposes yourself. It exposes that you are really broke. You don't have any arguments. You don't have any arguments to prove your God. So you result into the gaps in science and to put your God of gaps instead of it. Seriously, you're really that broke? I feel sorry for you, really. I feel really sorry.
Where did morality and values come from? When it comes to atheism, atheism sees the universe as a tumultuous sea of atoms that makes no sense and have no purpose, which was one of the driving motives to immorality and depravity.
Is this Haytham Talat translated? Really, again, atheism got nothing to do with morality. Atheism is just a standpoint refusing the belief or disbelief in God or gods. Where is morality in this sentence? Where is morality? It got nothing to do with it, really. If you ask about morality, go to the evolution theory and research there, and then you're going to see the explanation, the scientific explanation, how morals came to be. Again, you say atheism, they have no explanation from... It's like I'm asking you, Mr. Allah, Love Allah 328. It's like I'm asking you, so what does Islam say about quantum mechanics and the many worlds interpretation? You see, if you don't answer, then that means your Islam is false. Is this logical? Is this logical in your point of view? Because you are implementing the same shit here, actually. You are asking atheism about some scientific stuff. So let me then ask you, Mr. Explain to me, what did Islam say about quantum entanglement? What about quantum tunneling? Explain to me, Mr. What did the Quran say about quantum entanglement? And what did the Quran say about quantum tunneling? If you can't answer, Mr. Love Allah 328, then your Islam is bullshit. Is this the rational way of talking? Is this the rational way of talking? Seriously. Seriously.
Since morality does exist, then atheism is invalid. To sum up our argumentation against atheism, since there is light, then there has to be a source for this light. Since there is shade, then there has to be a body causing the shade.
Wow.
Since there are intricate objects starting from the quarks and ending with the galaxies, then there has to be an originator. The Quranic argumentation...
No, it doesn't have to be an originator. The Big Bang and the Standard Model explained everything beautifully, how though quarks came to be without even the slightest hint of your God fingers playing with the matter. Alright? It doesn't have to be a creator, man. Really. Stop smoking weed, brother. Stop smoking it. Really. It damages your brains, okay? Stop drinking alcohol too much. It kills your brain cells. Really, really. Maybe you don't smoke weed. Maybe you don't drink. But obviously you put your nose into your religious books too much. You don't read science. You should close your religious book, put it aside, go open a science book. Yes, it's very useful. Go and open science book and read. Read how the quarks came to be. It came without the finger of your God. And don't be butthurt because I mentioned your God. All gods, even the Christian God, the Jew gods, the Hindu gods, all gods got no finger in the forming of quarks. Because I know you're Muslims, you are too très sensitive. Oui. Je suis Muslim, je suis très sensitive. I know you're very sensitive, alright? So don't worry, all gods, not only Allah exclusively, okay? All gods got nothing to do with the forming of quarks.
Is the strongest ever. Do you not see how those who dispute Allah's signs are turned away from the right path? Those who reject the book, and that with which we sent our messengers, shall soon know. Translation of the meaning of
No.
But nothing but believing in trivialities and impossibilities.
Yeah. Look, brother, look. If you're gonna give me an evidence about your God and your religion, don't resolve, okay, to your Quran. Because that's circular reasoning. I explained it before, really. I'm gonna repeat it, okay? If you're gonna give me an evidence, give me an evidence that doesn't support your case. That's how a good logical argument you should form it. That's how you should form it always. You give a premise that both sides, the atheist and the theist, they take it and accept it. Not a premise that only the theist accept it, which you're doing here. You're bringing your Quran. What do you expect the Quran will do? What do you expect the Quranic verses will say? Will say that God doesn't exist? Of course, it's going to be supporting to your case. So in that sense, your evidence are non-neutral. You should give a neutral evidence. Alright? Because here what you're doing, you say, hey, I have a book. And it's a very good book. And in this book, it says that God exists. And how do I know that this book is correct? Because also in the book, it says that this book is correct. And how do I know that this book is correct? Because also in this book, God said that this book is correct. And how do I know that the God of this book created the universe? Because in this book, God said that He created the universe. You see the circular reasoning here? Do you see it? Or you don't see it? Because the same thing with a Christian. The Christian will come to you and tells you, hey, God exists. Well, how do you know? Because He mentioned it in the Bible. And how do you know that the Bible is correct? It's also mentioned in the Bible that the Bible is correct. And the Jew does the same thing. The Jew comes to you. Hello, shalom. Shalom, hava nagila, venismecha. Hello, shalom. My Torah is correct. How do you know? Well, it stands in the Torah that the Torah is correct. And how do you know that your God exists? It's mentioned in the Torah that the Torah is correct. Hava nagila, hava. I mean, stop this bullshit, seriously. I'm fed up with it, really. If you want to give me an evidence, give me a neutral evidence. Don't do the circular reasoning fallacy. Like, really, you're that broke? Really, you don't have any evidence? Really, I feel sorry for you, man. I feel sorry for you. I tell you what, why don't you pay me? Okay, pay me, and I'll give you some good evidence. Some neutral evidence that might prove you're God. How about that? That's an offer you can't refuse, right? Come on. Pay me and I will give you some good evidence, neutral evidence that the atheist will accept and the theist will accept it too. Alright? I'm going to help you with forming your premises and forming your arguments. Obviously you need it. You need help. Obviously. Seriously. So that's the whole video in English. The second video is going to be in Arabic. And the third video is also going to be in Arabic. So until then, cheers, love and respect. Love you guys. And kisses to you.